going to be talking about least common multiple, or as it's also known, LCM. First, we have some definitions. A multiple of a number is the product of the number and any non-zero whole number. An example of a multiple is 12 multiple of 3. So that means that there's some number that is multiplied by 3 and it gets 12, and that number happens to be 4. A multiple that is shared by 2 or more numbers is a common multiple. So the fact that you can multiply 3 by a number and get 12, and you can multiply 6 by a number and get 12, that means that 12 is a common multiple of these numbers, 3 and 6. Now the least of the common multiples is the least common multiple, or LCM. So after you figure out your multiples, the one that they have in common that's the lowest number is the LCM. So for in our example here, 3 and 6, the first multiple that they share is 6, and so that is actually the least common multiple. Now we have some examples. Find the least common multiple of 7 and 8. So our first method that we're going to learn about is making a list. So we list our numbers 7 and 8, and we multiply our numbers by whole numbers until we find that they share one. So 7 times 1 is 7, 7 times 2 is 14, 7 times 3 is 21, 7 times 4 is 28, etc., etc. 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24, so on and so forth. And the first number that they both have in common happens to be 56. And so 56 is the LCM, least common multiple. Now the similarity between the words multiply and multiple, or I read that backwards, multiple and multiply, can help you remember that multiple is a product. So when you're looking for the LCM, M stands for multiple, and multiple means multiply. So what number will these multiply by? What number will they share? What number is the lowest multiple? For our second method, we have prime factorization. So I'm going to tell you the steps first, and then we'll do an example. It might help to write these down, maybe not, but we will do an example. So the first step is to write the prime factorization for each number. And then we circle the common factors and multiply the common factors only once, but we multiply them by the uncircled factors. So you could list all the multiples like we did in the first method, but it would usually be very impractical because your numbers can be very large. For example, in our next problem, we are finding the least common multiple of 84 and 360. So if we were to do list, we would have 84 times 1 is 84. 84 times 2 is, the numbers get big. So we set it up so that we can use prime factorization. 84 and 360, and we do our little factor tree for each number. So 84 has two factors of 12 and 7. So 12 and 7 is 12 times 7 is 84, and 12 can be broken into its factors of 3 and 4. So 3 times 4 is 12, and 7 is a prime number, so we bring it down. 3 is a prime number here, so bring down our 3. 4 is composite, so it can be broken down further into 2 times 2, and 7, once again, we bring down. This is our prime factorization for 84, and using the same method, we find our prime factorization for 360. 360 is 10 times 36. 10 is 2 times 5. 36 is 6 times 6. 2 and 5 are both prime, so we bring them down. 6 can be broken into 2 times 3, and we have 2 6s, so we need 2 of those, 2 times 3 and 2 times 3. This is our prime factorization for 360. So now what we do, that was the first step, do prime factorization for each number. Now we want to circle what they have in common. So they each have a 2, they each have another 2, and they each have a 3. So here is the numbers that they share. Not this one. 2, 2, and 3. Now we also multiply them by the numbers that aren't circled. So you count them once for the numbers that are circled, and then you do all the numbers as is. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5 times 7. And that's where 2, or 3, or 5, and our 7 came from, which is actually 2 cubed times 3 squared times 5 times 7, or, for our final answer, 2,520. Now can you imagine sitting there and doing all this math on your multiplicator, on your calculator, to get all the way up to 2,500? Take a while. So use one of these methods, listing or prime factorization, and you'll find your least common multiple.